Hey, folks, and welcome back to the podcast, the Evil Dungeon Master Universe podcast. It is Tuesday morning. I'm your host, Evil Dungeon Master Vince, and feeling a little bit better today. Colds sometimes can get you. NyQuil and DayQuil does help. It's able to keep me functional for the time being. But anyway, hopefully you've had a great start to your week, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about something that might be fun. EvilDM.com is my website where you can go catch everything that I'm doing, as well as some articles I've been slowly putting up about games that I really enjoy, as well as podcasts and YouTube videos in case you've missed them. Anyway, today I'm going to talk a little bit about the Dragonlance comic book. I was, down and out a little bit this weekend for not feeling well. And yesterday I spent most of the time just kind of chilling out and going over some old comics that I had and reading some books. But the Dragonlance comic book is something that I remember reading. It came out around in the late 80s, early 90s by DC Comics. And it had an interesting story that I completely forgot about. And I thought it'd be kind of a cool thing to talk about and an adventure that you can actually make up. Because the whole premise of this comic book is that there is a Dragonlance, quote unquote, artifact item that will stop the forces of evil in the world of Corinne. And they have quite a bit of a cast in the first. I don't really. I've been such a long time since I've read these comics. I don't really remember most of it, but it had Sturm, Brightblade, and Riva Silver Crown. My tongue is twisted this morning. And Lord Soth is in this as well. He's a Death Knight. And dragons are first appearing in the world after so many centuries of not being seen. And meanwhile, the main character is holding on to an artifact item, a medallion that Lord Soth is actually looking for with his minions. It's funny because they locate where the actual artifact item is because of however they're sensing it. And they go searching the area looking for it, but don't find it because the woman who holds it, Riva, I don't know how you pronounce that, or Riva, whatever, is actually hiding, watching as the Lord Soth and his Death Knights are storming the castle, so to speak. And he completely misses the artifact that's hidden in the room when he's looking, the Dragonlance itself, which is an artifact item in this comic book world. So he doesn't even notice this is even there. And it gets revealed at the end of the first comic that it was there, and he just completely missed it because he was just too stupid to see it. But he's able to track down this medallion artifact and figure out where it is or where it's not. So I found that interesting. It's a decently drawn comic. It's, of its time, late 80s, early 90s. Good story involved so far. I think it'd be a good actual adventure. One thing I was disappointed about was when they did the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons comics for DC, they actually incorporated into the back of the comic a bunch of stuff that was in the actual comic and written out for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, so you can include it into your game. If you can get a hold of those comics, it was pretty interesting because they'd stat up bad guys, they start up magic items, they'd even stat up new little monsters that you've never seen, so you can use them in your game. This they did not do. I don't know why, but I thought it was always fun to see that in the back of the comic, so you can, after you read the comic, you can include it into your game that day or that week. And it's like a fun little treat. At the end of reading a story, you have this whole write-up section. And we did review this on Roll for Initiative way back in the early days, 2009, 2010, when we were talking about the comics. And I thought it would be an interesting thing to talk about how it's not in there now. I'm not sure why it's not in there. I don't know. I have to talk to the people that were involved with TSR at the time. But they did a couple comics. This one, the Dragonlance one, and I think there was a Spelljammer one as well later on, which is quite interesting. But this could be really ripe for a good imaginative adventure with Dragonlance. I mean, you could pull out the Dragonlance campaign book, whatever edition of D&D you're playing. I use the one from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons because that's closest to the world that Hickman and Weiss had put together when they were doing the Dragonlance series. When I've talked to Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss, they both said that was a labor of love for Dragonlance, and they were, obviously I would take it from them, but I'm pretty sure at the time when I spoke to them, that was many, many years ago, that they probably had done more work since then on Dragonlance as far as for Dungeons and Dragons. I think something came out recently for 5th edition. I'm not sure if possible. There was some more novels that came out. I haven't kept up with them in many years. I just stick with some of the old material I have. I mean, you can never change what you have unless you want to change it yourself. I mean, Wizards of the Coast can't come to my house and be like, no, that is no longer canon. Well, it is canon in my world, pal. So, if you happen to see it, they did put this into I believe, a trade paperback with all the comics together so you can pick it up. Otherwise, you could probably find these at your local comic book store for probably $1 a piece. Or you can go online and buy them $1 a piece. There's no big demand on these comics. And they're really worth the read. It's interesting to see how they did the comics, how they phrased it like a story, and I think it'd be a great adventure if you read all the comics and then take it from there, and then have the adventure that there's this one item that Lord Soth is looking for, and meanwhile there's the Dragonlance itself, quote unquote, that is the ultimate artifact that could rid the world of the evil and the dragons and things like that. I don't know, might be a great adventure to try out just to see and run a Dragonlance campaign, but use this plot as opposed to what it actually is in the Dragonlance books. I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all those other fun things. Rate the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I appreciate those people that have done it. I think I'm almost at 100 now for Spotify for reviews. I'm going to head out. Hopefully I'll feel better tomorrow. And keep it original, keep it old school. Good night. God bless. Don't forget there is no drama, no clickbait, only gaming on this channel. Good night, everybody.